Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We're gathered today here on the traditional territories of the signatories of Treaty 6, and I acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection to this land. At this point, we've all become quite accustomed to the UCP's broken promises. But today, we're not talking about the UCP failing to make good on a promise. We're talking about a clear demonstration of deceit. Danielle Smiths campaigned on a promise to provide a $1,500 tax cut to Albertan families. Then, after Albertans trusted her with their vote, she turned around and broke her promise. So we thought. It's recently been revealed that the UCP government did virtually no planning for this tax cut and therefore had no intention of fulfilling this promise in the first place. So, not a broken promise after all. In this case, we're looking at a downright lie. When all documents mentioning Danielle Smiths' tax cut were obtained via a FOIP request, a single document came back. One single document. This was a 6-page public service briefing note that arrived on Minister Horner's desk in July 2023, where he was tasked to make a decision about whether the UCP would move ahead with their flagship campaign promise. Given that the tax cut was never mentioned in a single document after that, it seems very clear that Smith and her finance minister made the decision to break their promise barely 2 months after being elected. Even for the UCP, this is shocking. Since July, there's been no further analysis on the implementation of the tax cut, no rollout plan for it, and no budget for it. Yet to this day, the UCP still denies that they broke their promise. When asked about the broken promise, this government continues to insist that the tax cut is coming. But it doesn't take a political scientist to know that in order to implement a billion-dollar initiative, one would require a little more documentation than a measly 6-page briefing note. A single 6-page briefing note is a joke. It's not a plan. As far as I'm concerned, the briefing note may as well have said, we have no intention of implementing a tax cut. Back in May, Albertans were given a choice. They could vote for an NDP government that campaigned on investing in healthcare, education, housing, or they could vote for a UCP government that campaigned on putting money in their pockets right away. When the Alberta NDP ran their election campaign, we made promises based on strategic plans with real intentions to implement. We could have told folks we could give them a major tax cut in addition to fixing the healthcare and education system, but we didn't. It would have been irresponsible. Because Albertans have the right to an informed choice. Albertans exercised their democratic right to choose based on their values, but the minute they made their choice, the rug was pulled out from under them. The promises they trusted were not just unfulfilled, they were obliterated. Now, Albertans are left with a broken healthcare system, crumbling education system, and zero affordability measures. The UCP shamelessly exploited Albertans' economic anxiety, weaponizing it against them for a vote. Albertans will vote for the representation that aligns with their values. That's democracy. But when elected officials turn around after being voted into their sacred position and do the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do, they disempower and betray the very people that voted for them. There's an absolute failure in their fundamental duty to uphold democracy. Make no mistake, our platform of funding healthcare and education was an affordability promise. Nothing is more important to people than being healthy enough to work, to be educated for the jobs of today and tomorrow. We ran on a real affordability promise that could sustainably have made life better for all Albertans. Instead, we got this hot mess from the UCP. Albertans now don't have the UCP's signature affordability measure, nor do they have funded healthcare or education. Albertans got nothing. Albertans deserve better than broken promises and blatant deception. They deserve the opportunity to make fully informed choices based on campaigns that are grounded in honesty, integrity, and true intention. Any way you look at it, the UCP's actions paint a very, very cynical picture. This government campaigned on the promise of a tax cut. When elected, implemented a slew of additional taxes and fees, making life more expensive for Albertans. It's more than a broken promise, it's a broken trust. Tuition is going up, property taxes are going up, junk fees are going up. Rent is increasing faster than any other province in the country. Inflation is the highest in the country. Wage growth is the slowest in the country. These are all policy choices by the UCP, and unemployment is well above the national average. Albertans are suffering. and the UCP's lies have only made things worse. Albertans deserve a government that tells the truth. The UCP needs to step up, do the right thing, and give Albertans what they are entitled to. It's time for them to address affordability like they promised. Thank you. And I will now take any of your questions.
All right, thank you, Samir. We'll now go to questions. Just a reminder for those joining us on the phone to use the *9 function, and for those joining on Zoom to use the raise hand function to get into the question queue. And with no questions on the line, we'll wrap today. Thanks, folks.